In this episode, I speak with Loretta from Nourished Energy. She is a Reiki Master, and we dive into a beautiful discussion around what energy healing is all about and invite you to have that open mind and explore some of these concepts that might seem a little more spiritual, a little more esoteric, but I think we did a really great job of rounding this conversation, embedding it in the logic of the mind so that when you have those questions pop up of, hang on, how can this be true? Don't worry, I'm asking them. I ask Loretta all of that stuff and how to get our minds around these kind of concepts. At the end of the day, energy healing is available for you if you would like it. No one is forcing anyone to explore that. But if it's something that you're curious about, you want to know what is Reiki? What is it all about? Does it have actual benefits? And maybe there's a little more evidence to it than you might have thought. If you're wondering about that, this is the episode for you. I think you're going to love this conversation. It was so beautiful to share and connect with Loretta, and we went to some pretty interesting places. Okay, I'll leave it there. Let's go to the show. Hi, Loretta. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really, really excited.
I'm really excited to dive into some more topics around the spiritual realm, around energy healing, Reiki, what all of this stuff is about, because it's something that in my journey I've found so much benefit from exploring that, despite having an extremely rational mind. My family are all, half of them are lawyers, like we're very in that zone of evidence and logic, and yet somehow I found a way to pacify my mind and be open to this stuff at the same time. And that's kind of where I wanted to explore things with you, just because it is so beautiful for managing anxiety to build our sense of trust in something else, to have a place to go outside of our humanness and find another perspective on life. So that's sort of where I'm thinking we're going to go with this episode. But as always, we're just going to flow and see what happens.
I love it. I love it.
Well, the first thing I want to ask you, Loretta, is just how did you, and this might be a big question, but how did you get to doing what you're doing now? You're a Reiki master, you teach Reiki to people around the world. Where did this all begin for you?
So really good question. I think I was always sort of interested in, the metaphysical realm, in spirituality. Um, and I've always had some kind of interest. I've always been playing with crystals, ever since I was a little girl. Um, I think I bought my first tarot cards when I was about 12. So I was always sort of interested and curious about the other realms, I think. And it wasn't until my late 20s where I really started to, I guess, search for ways to manage my own anxiety, my own depression, and I had eating disorder. So I was really not in a great way in my 20s. And for me, finding Reiki was just like throughout my journey, it was just part of that. And it was life-changing. And basically, when I started practicing with my teacher, just as a practitioner, she was just practicing with me, and I was finding it was just helping me so much. And I couldn't explain why. And same as we were talking about before, I too come from, a family quite we're all really rational. And I was always in corporate kind of gigs and working in a very corporate environment. And
So you were in your were you in your spiritual closet for a while?
yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Right up until I was probably had opened Nourished Energy, probably for a good year before I had actually told people that this is what I actually do for work. Yeah, I felt like I sort of had to hide away because I was worried what people would think about it. And I think also it was almost like protecting them because if people didn't understand what it was, I felt like, oh, I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable You know,
Yes.
that old story, right? Like, I don't want to be the reason why somebody else feels uncomfortable about something. Yeah. So yeah, I was in my spiritual closet for a little while. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's interesting you bring that up, this idea of like hiding this part of yourself or this way of seeing the world for fear of upsetting people, because it is something that comes up for me too when I'm talking about things like, how can we see death another way? Does it have to be a reason for us all to, oh, and hey, you're allowed to have your human experience and your sadness about that, but I'm coming to the understanding in my own belief system that there's a part of us that does never die, and death doesn't have to be what the world says death is. And I find those concepts honestly fascinating to explore and so liberating, but for some people that's going to be incredibly triggering because we have so many stories around it.
Oh, absolutely. I think as well, because it's something that we all experience at some time in our life, whether it's, you know, a loved one or somebody, you know, somebody who knows someone else or something like that. But so death is, and I guess you have cultural influences on death and how people see that as well. Um, it's funny you mentioned death. In fact, it was probably one of those areas when I started my Reiki journey and started really delving more formally into spiritual practices, where I was raised a Catholic. So the idea that there is, you know, kind of past lives, or that there is more to just death and, you know, going to heaven and hell and that kind of idea, was really quite foreign to me. And
Mm.
it was something that I just found really fascinating, really, really fascinating. And I think that what spirituality and leaning into spiritual practices really enables you to do is just be more open-minded, to be honest, and just to ask different questions and be curious. And if something doesn't resonate, there's no right or wrong. It's more just about navigating your own path, which is something that I absolutely love.
What I love about it is it's just ultimately so freeing because you get to choose your own rules. You don't have to believe exactly what the Buddhists believe. You don't have to believe exactly what, you know, Jesus says, or whoever, whatever, you know, spiritual figure you want to follow, or just your own truth, like whatever's within you that resonates. It's interesting you bring up past lives because I've always thought, now I'm like, I'm open always to all the ideas because I'm just like, why not? This is fun. Let's explore it. But past lives is something that I have often, even though I just said there's a part of us that never dies, I also find the idea of past lives kind of frustrating, because if I'm carrying something that was from, you know, like I'm feeling depressed because 3 lives ago or 30 lives ago, you know, my mom, I don't know, abandoned me or something. Like, I find it hard to, like, I find it hard to see that as something that's serving me to kind of hang on to all this stuff, because there could be infinite things from the past that are like potentially holding me back. And I'm like, I just want to be in this life now. So, what are your thoughts on that, Loretta? Let's go right
That's
into it.
that is so interesting. I think your you know idea about that is not uncommon, and I think that if you really focused on trying to heal all the wounds of the past lives, I think that you know, you would be here a long time, and it's like a
Ah,
full-time job. You know what I mean?
oh, this is the anxious mind wanting to go all or nothing. We have to be all that we have to, if we've got past lives, we've got to heal all of them versus like potentially just exploring one element and letting that release something deep.
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, there could be parts of a past life that are showing up that are unexplainable in this lifetime. So, you know, using the examples of phobias or fears, that you just can't understand. Like, nothing's happened in my childhood. I can't remember anything, you know, but I just have this real fear of birds or a fear of water or something like that. And a lot of people um, see that as, I guess, you know, it's almost like that's where the curiosity begins. It's like, why is that? Or a connection with somebody. It's like, why do I have that? Really feel like I've known this person before, or, you know, I just fell in love with him like that, or, you know, those sorts of things.
For some reason, my mind can get on board with that one. The past, like like I've known this person before, I can fall in love with them straight away. It's interesting.
It's really interesting. And with Reiki as well, I find that many of my students will come in and they just start learning. And the first thing they're doing is, you know, is working with their hands. And they're like, this feels like I've done it before. This is not the first time that I've healed with my hands, or that this energy has, you know, that I've worked with energy before. And I think that's where you can look at the past life element as, it's actually really validating too. Like, oh, I am on the right path, or I have done this before. So why shouldn't I step into doing this work now? Like, do you know what I mean? It's almost like confidence building as well.
Yeah, look, I see it as, if it's serving you, great.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, you know, always going back to things like, I don't know, sometimes I'm just like, I've got enough to heal in this lifetime. Do I have to go back to all that?
Completely agree. I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so let's talk Reiki and what Reiki is. I know that's probably like your most hated question, because it's just, what is Reiki? It's like, what is life?
It is really hard to explain, because it's experiential. It's something that you need to experience. It's exactly like trying to experience an orgasm. You know, it's really difficult. So the best thing to do is to experience it, and to be open and willing to experience it. The way that I can explain it, though, is that there is something that creates and sustains us all. There is an energy. And when we tap into Reiki, we're actually connecting with that energy. And we can think of that energy as, I guess, you know, a vibration, and it vibrates at that level of unconditional love. So it's super high vibe. If you think about it that way, it's a super high vibrational energy. It's the thing that kind of creates everything, universe, and it sustains universe. And we are just tapping into that energy. So the beautiful thing is that we do learn to sort of connect with it as an outside source, but reality is that we are connected to that energy. So as soon as we start to play with it, it very much becomes something that is us. You know, we talked about the spiritual self, and it's, I guess you could even talk about it as being that, you know, it's like connecting with that spiritual self.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a really lovely way to explain it. I think for me, I'm just trying to take myself back to when I didn't understand energy, and I was like, energy, you know, like I'd sort of think of it as this really airy fairy concept. But then, you know, you can feel energy. Anyone can feel it when you walk into a room and, you know, there's some bad news has occurred. You can feel it in your bones, the shiver on your spine, the hair standing on end. You know, we're designed to be receptive to energy of groups. I see it that way, like as almost like a survival thing. We need to read each other in the tribe and like sense, oh, something doesn't feel right. Oh yeah, there's a tiger in the trees, you know. And other ways too, right? Like that bring us together and make us feel connected and safe. We can feel that energy too. So then when you can see, anyone can understand that sort of energy, how much of a stretch is it to understand that you can create this and draw upon this energy within yourself?
Yeah, that's beautifully explained. Yeah. And the reality is that, you know, on a very scientific level, we understand now with quantum physics in the last century, you know, we understand that our universe is actually mostly made up of energy. And so the physical matter, like the very 3D world that we live in, you know, going very deep here, but it's an illusion, because everything that we are viewing is just our very own perception, right? But the actual truth is that everything is energy, is mostly energy, more than 99%. So it is a weird concept because we live in a very 3D world. Like we're talking on something that's 3D, a computer. You know what I mean? We live in a home that's very 3D. We're sitting on a chair that's very 3D, that sort of thing. So it's hard to understand that most of what we're actually working with and living in is not even here. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's so strange to understand that.
You go into an atom, into the nucleus of the atom. There are electrons buzzing around in there, and they're just constantly moving in this empty vacuum of space. What?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre to go there, but I love going there because it evokes in me a real sense of awe and wonder for this universe that we live in. Like how infinitely complex and incredible is it? And so my intelligent logic brain goes, well, it is infinitely complex. So how the hell do we know what is, how can we definitively say that something like Reiki can just be dismissed and is silly and it's all just snake oil, and you're just telling someone a story that at the end, and crystals too. So I logic crystals by understanding, I know there's some, you can probably tell me about this, but there's some kind of research around frequencies of electromagnetism or something around crystals. But the other part of me, the lawyer brain goes, well, if I touch a rose quartz and I think this is bringing me loving energy, it will bring me loving energy, because our mind is we create neuropeptides and our emotions from our thoughts. So it's going to create the love. Does it really matter how? Does the how really matter?
I completely agree. I think that if something actually makes you get to that place where you can feel love or you feel loved, then who cares what it's from or how you're getting there? Because ultimately, to experience that high frequency, if someone is, in a panic state, or someone is in a low vibe, they're sad or whatever is going on for them, if for just that moment they're able to get out of that state, and if it's helping them, like what does it matter? What does it really matter? And why do you need to understand it?
Yeah. And this is what's so beautiful about this too, is that it's not forced upon anyone. No one has to go and get Reiki healing done if they don't want to, but if they're open to it, and they're going to get benefit, and they're going to, I honestly think anyone could benefit, but that being immersed in that loving energy is the opposite of fear, and fear and anxiety are in the same bucket. So this is where I love talking about how do we break out of that humanness of limitation and fear and move more into this loving energy, because that's where the healing lies. That's where the peace that we want is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Reiki, the way that Reiki actually works is that, so let's talk about if you're coming to see me as a practitioner. Basically, I act as a vessel, as a channel to enable this energy to work through me and down through my hands and out to you. And the idea is that because I'm now channeling this really high frequency, you're then able to rise, your vibration is then able to rise to that level, to this beautiful level of unconditional love. So very commonly people will fall asleep when they're in that rested state. They will even just bliss out, feel like they're in a deep meditation, that sort of stuff. And the actual brain frequency changes from beta, which is, where we're at right now, into this more alpha theta, just before you're kind of falling asleep, that sort of state. So it's almost that hypnotic, very susceptible to, the change in your subconscious in that state. And that's where healing happens. That's where we are able to almost to change our subconscious, to help us believe that we're worthy of love, that we're loved, that we're lovable, and and to be cocooned in that vibration, which is basically what Reiki feels like. It feels like you're almost being, covered and immersed in this beautiful love cave kind of thing. It's so beautiful. And you're right. If as long as you are just open to it, you don't even have to do anything. It's just saying to you, just lean in, just let go for a minute and let me show you what it might feel like to be loved.
And Loretta, one of my modalities I work with is hypnotherapy. And so all about getting into the alpha theta brain state. And it's almost like we have to get beyond the stickiness of the mind, the limited conscious mind it's very narrow. It only sees, oh, I can't do that because I have kids. I can't have the life I want because I have to be in this relationship, or I have to be in this job, or I have to, all these limits it places upon us. And once we can rise sort of beyond that into this other state, we can start to see things from a new perspective. And I see the new perspective as one of the greatest parts of the healing. What else is going on? Is there something happening in our cells?
Oh, so many things are happening. So many. So it's basically one of the reasons that Reiki is used globally in a lot of hospitals. And
is it used in hospitals?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Especially for chronic illness and pain, palliative care, things like that. It's used very, very commonly, just right around the world, because of the magic that happens when someone is experiencing Reiki. Basically, it is able to help them get into us in that state, which is super relaxing. So if you think about, just even with hypnosis, but as soon as we are about to go to sleep, we're obviously really relaxed there. And we're not, it kind of has this ability to, I don't want to say switch off completely, but certainly to put the sound down, on that overthinking brain and on that kind of on the 3D-ness, I guess, and just allows us to really become one with the energy. So we can feel different vibration in our body and sensations and things like that. So we're relaxing. It's helping us with physical pain, emotional pain. It's helping us to get clarity and focus. It can, as well as relaxing us, it can also energize. I just had a session on the weekend actually, and I got off the table and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I just plugged myself into a recharge center or something. It was amazing. So it just has so many different benefits. And the best thing though is that, on a spiritual level, it helps you be way more connected, trusting, surrendering, letting go, that sort of stuff, especially if you tend to be control freak or perfectionist and all of those things. That's, where it really helped me as well. But helps you connect to Mother Earth and to, everything around you as well, and kind of see a different perspective rather than just staying stuck in that limitation that you were just talking about, and to see things, a little, I guess, in a more abundant way, more open and higher perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's about 10,000 questions just popping into my head that I'm like, oh my God, that would be great to ask you. And that one, I'm going to start with, is this something that we all kind of in a way naturally experience, or many of us, when we experience like that? I know not all of us have this experience with our mothers, but if you do have that sort of really great relationship with your mother when you were younger and you just are loved and wrapped up, it doesn't have to be something new, right, that we've never experienced before.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about it as on that very basic level as just unconditional love, the way you just described it there, some people find it a little bit easier even to connect with the idea of, it's like a grandmother, because mum sometimes didn't have enough time, or there was sometimes a little bit more condition there. But grandmothers very often really hold that space of unconditional love for their grandkids. It's like they have all the time in the world, right? And there is nothing you can do wrong. And really that's what it feels like. It's like no matter how bad the day has been, or no matter how much I'm in pain or suffering, or, it doesn't matter what is going on, here is this opportunity for me to feel unconditionally loved.
Which is that ultimate connection. And that is what so many of us are yearning for. And we are disconnected when we're in that anxious state. We're not aligned with our own compass, our own intuition and intelligence within. And we're usually seeking some kind of quick fix connection, which is, food or social media or, maybe drugs, whatever it might be, Netflix even. Our phone, like so much of these things are just like, we wouldn't say that's an addiction or that's that's weird, but it's just as I suppose it's just as much a symptom of that disconnection. And and then we're running around trying to find it in partners, in family members, and trying to heal relationships that are not serving us and all these things. But it's what I find super liberating is that it's within, and you can always find it no matter what the other people you can't control in your life are doing.
Yeah, it is absolutely something that you can find and connect to. And I say reconnect rather than connect, because it is actually something we all have the ability to do. And that's why I love teaching it, because it is something that everyone can actually connect to themselves, and don't have to go and see a practitioner or somebody else to help them get into that state or to help them feel that way. It is actually just something you can do, as simple as putting your hands on your heart and just allowing yourself to connect and enjoy it.
And as you're teaching Reiki, is it essentially harnessing the movement of this energy and being able to draw it from, let's call it source, and move it through you as this vessel? Is that what people learn if they're learning Reiki?
So there are different levels, and kind of, if you think about it as like as you move through the levels, you're deepening the connection, you're deepening the ability to work with it, that kind of thing. But at a very basic level, Reiki is, when we act as that vessel, we are trusting that Reiki knows exactly what to do. So actually, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to move it. You don't have to, it's nothing about you getting in the way. It's just trusting that Reiki will know where it needs to go. We do use our hands as a way to kind of guide the energy through the body and different body parts, different throughout the energy centers, but you don't even have to do that. It's literally just putting your hands on, a part of your body and just allowing it to do whatever it needs to do.
How challenging for the rational mind to understand that you could just allow this infinite intelligence source that you've got no idea what it really is, how to even explain it, no evidence for it, that you can allow it to move through you. And you don't have to have a plan. You don't have to have a set of instructions or protocols. It just does its thing. And I guess the learning there, the training would have to be open, trust.
That's right. Yeah. Level 1 is all about opening up the heart, not just to giving unconditional love, because we're usually really good at that. If you have a pet, if you have a partner or a child or, anything, you often can understand how to give unconditional love. It's the receiving that most people find really difficult. And so, yes, with receiving unconditional love, it's about breaking down those barriers of, I guess the blocks between what stands between you and receiving unconditional love.
And receiving the unconditional love, is that an important part to being a Reiki practitioner? Because you have to let it flow both ways, not just out of you, but into you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I always tell my students, to be the best practitioner, it's about being a better version of you. And that is about practicing on ourselves and working on those limitations, working on all the things that stop us from being an expression of love or believing that we are love
Mm. Yeah, that was another one that I used to hear in yoga class in my 20s, and I'd go, "We are love? What does that mean?" I get it now because I experience it so frequently.
Mm.
But again, it's so I'm so with you. Like, it's such a challenging, and I commend you on the conversation around it, because I'm sure you have it a lot, but it's just it is challenging to describe to someone what this thing is without experiencing it, without feeling it.
Mhm.
And I mean, look, the way I look at it is, we're not really here to convince anyone. It's just there for you to explore if you feel called to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think that there is any benefit in me forcing someone to try it, or trying to explain it for long periods of times, because as I said at the beginning, ultimately it is experiential, and there's so many benefits. But if you are going to sit and block it because you just can't get past the rational, I guess, the rational idea behind it, then, like with anything, you're just going to block it. It's like with absolutely any modality or any food. If I sat there and told you that tomatoes were really good for you, but you just didn't believe it at all, didn't believe a word that I was saying, of course they're not going to be good for you. And there's nothing that I can say or do that's going to help you change your mind, unless you're
Yeah.
open to maybe, just that maybe, and just being a bit curious about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so does Reiki have a meaning? I should have looked this up at some point. It's Japanese, is
It
it?
does, yes. So it is a Japanese word, and basically it means spirit, or mystery, and ki is actually energy.
Beautiful. Makes so much sense
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
anyway. I hope it makes sense to the listeners. But yeah. And you're just working with that energy and moving it through you.
Yeah.
So we were talking about some of the benefits of Reiki just before, and this was one of the questions that popped into my head, was energy and our energy levels. Like, not it is all energy, but I'm talking about when we, in the well-being or natural medicine space, health space, we'll talk about your energy levels. And I would say probably that's one of the number one, if I'm thinking about a buzzword that's going to capture someone's attention, there's gut health, and there's basically energy. Maybe weight loss is another big salesy one, right? But energy levels is huge. So it's such a prevalent thing that so many people are talking about, that they don't have enough energy. How much of that do you think, and this is just purely opinion, how much of that do you think is purely physical, or potentially much more linked to the connection to this flow of energy?
That's a really good question, and I would say that it's really individual. I mean, you would know in the work that you do that it absolutely could be physical. There's lots of reasons why it's physical. And I know that too. I'm a mom, I have a business. Like, it's, I of course there's physical reasons why energy levels aren't great. But one of the things that is missing from a lot of people's wellness approach is working on their energy body. And as we talked about before, like, we know that it's actually most of what we are. And so it fascinates me that so many people don't understand that your energy body, which includes the chakra system, meridians, your auric field, all of those different aspects of your body, also known as the subtle body or the vibrational body, that sort of thing. But that is a large part of what is going to, I guess, influence your energy level. And especially if you are someone who is sensitive to energy. And you mentioned before the example of walking into a room. Now, some people that doesn't affect them at all. Some people walk into a room, and if something's just happened and you can feel it, for some people that does not affect them one bit, but for other people it affects them a whole lot. And they may be aware of it, but they may not be. And if they're aware of it and they're doing something about it, like Reiki or, other kind of practices, and they're working with that, they're able to sort of come back into their, their optimal state, their state of equilibrium, homeostasis, that state. Whereas if someone is not aware of it, or they're aware of it and don't do anything about it, that actually affects them a whole heap, because they can, if they walk into a room and they're up here, they're having a great day, the energy of the room and the people in it is really low, then they will feel that their energy then goes low too. It's the opposite of what we talked in the way that I was explaining how Reiki works as a practice.
We can raise people's energy. If we all became more interested in protecting that energy within, and connecting to unconditional love on a more regular basis and learning how to do that within ourselves, could we positively impact people around us?
100%. I mean, just thinking about, if I'm feeling good and I walk into a room that is lower, but I am so strong in myself and in my energy and empowered to stay up here, I have the actual ability to change the frequency of that entire room and raise everyone's vibe with me, instead of me being the one who lowers to meet them where they're at.
And then we can move into the realm of like feeling almost like a burden of responsibility to do that for the world. Like, I don't think that's what we need to be worrying about.
No, of course not. And I think that the best thing that you can do is just to work on your own self, and knowing that the work that you do on yourself is collectively having an influence. Absolutely. Because even if you are just knowing something more, or practicing something more, you might just influence one person, and that's just one person's life that you might change.
Yeah, and that's just unconditional love working its way through you in the way that it needs to work through you.
Exactly.
So yeah, the way I sort of look at it is almost like, yes, we know we can, logical brain says we have these atoms and we have energy within the atoms. Like, we know there's empty space basically in the center of them, and that's what we're made up of. That's what our cells are made up of, and our body is made up of a collection of cells that are all vibrating at a certain energy capacity. And no doubt your cells are functioning better with more vitality, more energy, when you are in a state that is not a fear state.
Yes.
When you are feeling more love and more freedom and expansion in your body. And so where do the chakras fit into this whole picture? Have we measured chakras? I think we have. There's some kind of research on them.
Yes, there is lots of research on them, and I mean, they've been taught in different spiritual traditions for years and years, since kind of the beginning of different civilizations, and different spiritual practices will believe that there's different kinds of chakra systems and things like that. But typically, I mean, if you've done yoga, I think you would have heard the concept about the chakras, which are our energy system, and which is a significant part of the energy system. And basically each one of these is like a wheel, a spinning wheel, a vortex within us. So it's not something that you would see. So if we cut open the body, it's not a physical thing that we will see, but the effects of them are very real. And it's so fascinating, because when I teach Reiki and you get people to actually feel the different chakras, it's mind-blowing when they're like, oh my God, I can feel that, or I can see the color of that, and that sort of thing. So it's really fascinating watching people experience it for themselves. But each center basically will have a different meaning associated to it in terms of how it governs your mind, body, soul, and on all levels. So part of it is physical, part of it is emotional, and part of it is spiritual, mental. All parts of us.
And like, again, I love we have these systems, right, for understanding ourselves, and when they create a sense of, oh, I get it, like that's why, and it feels comforting and it's validating, like these systems can be so useful. For example, I'll know when my throat chakra like is all closed up and I'm like, I'm not speaking my truth. I'm feeling like the urge to hold it in because I don't want to upset people. And it's beautiful because then I can start singing or, humming or something to like clear it, or like have a big cough,
Love it. I
and
love it.
it's so nice to have a framework to work with and somewhere to move that energy around.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, you just used a beautiful example. And I think that if you're really disconnected from understanding these parts of who you are and your energy body, it's like if you've got a sore throat, you'll probably reach straight away for, the tonic or the, whatever it is that you're making, a lemon tea or something like that. And you're like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. But very often, just as you were saying, if you can understand and have that awareness that, oh, I left that group of people and my throat started to tell me something, like it's my body actually saying to me through sensation, it's giving me a message. And if we have that awareness to really tap into and listen to it, it's so profound. And there are so many ways. I mean, Reiki is one way to work with it, crystals another way, but you just talked about some really beautiful ways to work through, a throat chakra block, or something that's affected it. And that's beautiful, whether it be singing or speaking or doing a big cough, some breath work, all that kind of stuff. It's so powerful, before just knowing that you have this ability to really heal yourself just by really listening and connecting to who you are, and what your body is trying to tell you. Your body has so much wisdom, and we forget to listen to it sometimes.
Yeah. And on one hand, we can go into over analysis paralysis where we're like, oh my gosh, a niggle in my throat. My throat chakra must be blocked, but it could also be my immune system. But was it also like, and we can get into this like anxious spiral. I think the best way to approach it is to see it almost like this fun journey of this like healing roadmap that you can work with and play with within yourself versus seeing it as like all these things we need to fix.
Yes, so beautiful that you talk about that. And, I don't like ever using those words like we need to be fixed in any way, because it's not actually fixing anything. It's healing is about delayering, basically. It's deconstructing all the layers that we've put on to ourselves, through our conditioning and programming. And it is really important that we don't kind of overthink this stuff or get worried about it or get scared and see it as that, or overwhelmed, but rather, just like you said, just see it as this fun journey. And I think if you see it as just tools that we have for ourselves, and I think that having tools is really, really important, because sometimes we don't always have access to asking for somebody's support, or you might not be booked in to see a practitioner, or a doctor or somebody else for another few days or another week or whatever it might be. And so it is so nice if we can have some of our own tools in our own toolkit, and
Yeah.
they might just make us feel good.
Totally. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. Like, I know my people, I know that they like collect all these tools, like all these ideas. And it's like, oh, I need to be doing all the things. Like, it's like, no, you actually don't need to do all the things. You just need to do, it's like the principle you were just saying about letting the energy work through you and flow where it needs to go. Let the tools that resonate with you come to you, be inspired by them, and work with what you think of at the time or what feels right to you at that time. If chakras is like working for you for a few months, like go with that for a while, and then you could totally forget about chakras for a while and just start dancing every morning. Like, whatever feels good for you is the game, the aim of the game at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's not bringing you joy, then do not do it, because we know that if something isn't lighting us up or it doesn't bring us joy, it's causing us more pain and suffering at the end of the day, and there's no point to that.
Exactly. I mean, this is the way that I talk about nutrition with people. Like, I don't want anyone getting hung up on nutrition rules, but learn the language of it, become fluent in it so that you know how to speak it, but don't build these walls around yourself with rules. It's just never going to work. It's never going to, it's not, that feels heavy, not light. What feels light and free is like, ooh, like how exciting would it be to, I don't know, I want a snack, but like I want to dip a banana in dark chocolate. Like, I don't know, just things like that actually feel exciting and nourishing for our bodies. So Loretta, speaking of all this sort of self-care work and nourishing your energy, and I never ask this question in a way of like, so everyone should follow Loretta's way of doing things. I'm just curious about what's lighting you up at the moment in terms of protecting your energy and keeping your vessel clean and shiny.
Yeah, so I guess I have my non-negotiables, that I try to stick to every day. And they are I always do a self Reiki practice, even if it's just 5-10 minutes in the morning or just before I go to sleep at night. But that is something that's really important to me.
What does that look like, a self Reiki practice?
Yeah, that's okay. So basically just placing my hands on a part of my body that I might feel needs it. But sometimes it's just putting it on my heart or on my belly or something like that, and just feeling like I just want to connect to that wisdom and let it do whatever it needs to do, rather than me trying to heal a particular part of my body. It's just Beautiful. Literally placing that my hands somewhere and letting that love hold me and connect with me. Yeah.
You do that every day.
Do it every day. Yeah.
Is it kind of like a meditation, like your eyes are closed while you're doing it?
Yeah. It's a lot it's different to meditation. It has different, obviously, goals, I think, and objective, but there is no right or wrong way to do it. It's really just Reiki is something that becomes really personal and unique for you. So it's just connecting to whatever that feels like for you. Yeah.
Liberating. Okay. So the Reiki, the self Reiki practice. Then what's next?
Yep. And I always connect to a crystal as well every day. If it's, just holding it, setting an intention for my day, that kind of thing. Moving every day. So whether, I'm doing a full workout or I'm doing a yoga or just going for a walk with my girls, like whatever it is, that's moving is really important. And nourishing my body and getting outside as well. Really, really important. So they're basically all, I try not to be too overwhelmed. Like I don't want to put too much pressure on myself on things that I have to do. And I try to just include my girls wherever I can in those practices as well.
Oh, so lovely. How lovely for them to have a mum connecting to that loving energy every morning.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's nice for me too.
So gorgeous. Loretta, thank you so much for sharing everything today and, answering some challenging questions. And it's just been beautiful. I hope we've offered people just something to think about. It's an invitation. It's like, come play in this zone if you want to. You don't have to, though.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. It's, I think that what you're doing and the work that you're doing is just so important. And, so many people have anxiety and, it is a big part of their life. And it's, part of the work that I do is just offering, I guess, one tool, hopefully one or two tools that hopefully can bring joy and get them out of their fear and into a state of love, even if it is just for 5 minutes a day, hopefully.
Yeah. So if anyone is looking to find you, Loretta, and learn more about your work, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Nourished Energy, or I'm also on Facebook, which is Nourished Energy AU, and just my website is nourishedergy.com.au.
And so Reiki can be done internationally?
Yeah, yep. So I teach and practice online and also in person as well in Melbourne.
Love it. Yes. I love a global, I love the freedom that the internet gives us. Like we're not confined to our little local community. We can just spread our love far and wide, can't we, Loretta?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I really love it. I've got students all over Hong Kong, Ireland, Glasgow, just beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. It's really
Oh,
exciting.
hasn't that been the best too? Like just through COVID and not being able to travel, just connected to the world still. I've really enjoyed
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I almost feel like I get to go to these places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Loretta. I'm gonna
Thank
let you
you.
go, but beautiful chat and so lovely to connect with you.
Thank you so much. It was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Now, if you're ready to take things to the next level, to go on the deep dive into the anxiety reset method and all the work that I teach in my 90-day container, I invite you to join us in the Anxiety Reset Program. This is 90 days of working through every facet that could be contributing to high functioning anxiety, building your resilience, your physical resilience within your physical body. So we're talking about your gut health, your hormones, your nutrition, the way you're sleeping, the way you are living your life. We also, at the same time, work on your thoughts and beliefs, but we do the physical stuff along the side so that it's so much easier to sit down and do the work. The brain's receiving the nutrients it needs. Your body, your nervous system is naturally able to be calmer. It's being supported and nourished so that when it comes to questioning your beliefs, when it comes to rewiring your anxious mind, the process flows so much more easily. I am obsessed with this work. I absolutely adore it. We now have bonus new hypnotherapy added in to the Anxiety Reset program. So it's all updated with new content for anyone that signs up. You can go explore that. Hit the link in the show notes and you can find all about the program. If you're ready to do the work, I will give you all the tools you need to change your life and become an anxiety master. Included in the Anxiety Reset program is 3 months bonus access to the Anxiety Masters membership, which is our live events component. Now you can join the Masters membership right now if you like, just to dip your toe in the water and get started. Or if you want to continue the work and have those reminders on a monthly basis, you can also become an anxiety master. This is the ongoing path to mastery, where we practice the concepts, we build on what you learn in the Anxiety Reset program, and we take it further. This is how you show up consistently for yourself to do the inner work. If you've ever struggled to find the time to do this stuff, by signing up to the membership, it's already booked in your calendar on a monthly basis. It's regular enough that you are going to get results and you're going to keep moving forward. We have monthly breathwork classes, workshops run by me, and my group coaching as well. You'll be immersed in a community of women just like you who also want to celebrate slowing down, who also want to go for their dreams, those crazy ideas of maybe I can live my life in this way that feels so good in my heart. It's all available to you. No matter which option you choose, whether you go straight into the Anxiety Reset program, you dip your toe in the water with the Anxiety Masters membership, or you stick with us through the year in the Masters membership, I will ensure that you become an anxiety master. Thank you for listening. We have reached the end of this episode. If you enjoy this podcast and you find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe or share this episode on your Instagram stories and make sure you tag @Georgie the Naturopath. But that is all for today. Please be kind to yourselves. Know that you are enough and you are exactly where you need to be.